Coming up on Bass Hunters, we are dragging Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 under the LFE microscope, checking out what it has to offer you in terms of bass. Stick around. All right, what's going on, fellow bass heads and home theater fans? My name is Todd Anderson with avnirvana.com. You're watching episode number 13 of Bass Hunters, and that's right, today we are checking out Guardians of the Galaxy Volume number 3, a huge film that was just released on disc this past week. Of course, here on Bass Hunters, we use Kaleidescape as our source material, and for good reason, because Kaleidescape is giving us access to the best source material that is out there. I had this version of Guardians of the Galaxy that is in 4K with lossless Dolby Atmos, an 85 gig file, ever since July 7th, when it was officially released on the Kaleidescape system. Many thanks to our partners in crime over there at Kaleidescape. And also, I'd like to give a healthy shout out to two new sponsors in the Bass Hunters family. That is Sutherland AV Marketing, which is the distribution arm here in North America for Ascendo. That's right, folks. If you watched the last episode, you know that sitting right over here is an Ascendo SMS G32. That's a 32-inch driver. Infrasonic sub, it weighs about 350 pounds. This week, that's getting integrated into the home theater. So we'll have a lot more to talk about in terms of infrasonics and what Ascendo offers to the world of subwoofers coming up really soon. Okay, so let's dive in right here into Guardians of the Galaxy to see what it has to offer in terms of low end. And I think a lot of people are going to be really psyched. Let's get the scorecard up. And right there, you can see that this movie is getting A- all the way down to the bass section, which I'm not going to reveal quite yet. But let me just mention, this movie is a ton of fun. I think it's partly a mix of just great writing and fun characters, but also the way they blend in that 70s and 80s soundtrack vibe into the film. This one, I loved watching. Can't wait to watch it again. It gets an A-. In terms of picture quality, it's a gorgeous film. It has a gritty, organic feel. The CGI doesn't feel too CGI-y. And I gotta say, it just explodes. It looks brilliant in 4K. I loved this release. So A- it is. Same goes for audio. This one really just wraps its arms around you and draws you into the film. Voices and dialogue are weighted and heavy. Of course, the sound effects, which are plentiful in this movie, really just explode. It's a wonderful Atmos track. So A- for that also. Now, in terms of bass, this one, surprisingly, is going to slide in at an A. I think this is going to play well at AV shows around the country going forward this year. We're probably going to see it used fairly heavily at CEDIA, and for good reason. Now, before we dive into our three best scenes from the film to check out bass a little bit more closely, just want to talk in general terms about what you can expect in terms of LFE in this movie. And to do that, let's call up a spectrograph right here. Now, notice this one is a little bit different than some that we have looked at in the past, simply because the scale is different. That's 400 hertz right there at the top end. That's 8 hertz right there. So this is a little bit of a, I'd say, magnified view. Now, right here, this is about 70 hertz and going right down to about 20 hertz. You can see the bulk of the bass in this scene is really happening in the 30 to 40 hertz range. That's where the majority of the peaks are in terms of peak power and frequencies, but there is activity that is going down right here to 20 hertz, and then you see there's almost a cutoff there. I think that there's a fairly good chance that there is a 20 hertz shelf throughout this film. What you see happening down here below is likely due to my own room. But this is fairly indicative of what you're going to see throughout the movie, which isn't terrible news. I have to be honest. This bass plays really well. It's deep and heavy and nuanced throughout the film. So I don't think the fact that there appears to be a 20 hertz cutoff is all that bad. Here's another snapshot from that very same scene, and you can see right here we have peak output as recorded by the FFT analyzer happening right at 40 hertz, which is right in this region right there. That's what that's representing. And here's a look a few moments before that last snapshot. This is 30 hertz right here. So you can see peak energy, peak output right there is really centered around 30 hertz, which is right in this range, right in there. Okay, so let's check out the first of 3 clips captured from this film. If you're following along at home there, you can see this is BH2 in the Kaleidescape script file, which will be down in the description below. So if you own this movie, you can watch these scenes at home as I have seen them. If you are watching with a disc, this is around the 1 hour and 45 minute mark, and this is about 29 seconds long. Now, just to let everyone know out there, we're going to be playing these at 1.5 times speed, trying to speed things up just a little bit to avoid digital rights issues. I know most of what we're doing here is all in fair use, but it's hard to argue with the YouTube bots about that. So check it out and we'll dissect. And you can see there, that is a potent punch of bass. Let's check out the FFT analyzer and get a better look at what's happening in this clip. Okay, so this is a little slowed down. You can see as the ship is taking hits, we're getting peaks in the 40 to 30 hertz range, and I'm gonna freeze it right there. Let's see if I can get my drawing thing up. Here we go. So there's a couple of neat bass drops that are very subtle in this scene, but if you have a good subsystem at home, you're going to be able to hear those. A lot of fun. This is a really short clip, but one of the better bass moments in the movie. Okay, so let's move on to our next scene. You can see this one is not too much further down the road than our last one, but it is a lot longer. This is chock full of amazing bass associated with space creatures, explosions, lots of transients. It's just loaded up. So check it out and we'll talk about it.
Spaceport wide open, Captain, but nano missiles all we have. Rocket, crew, go, get inside that spaceport. What the hell? Oh, come on!
Captain, we have been infiltrated!
Open the pit.
Sire, our bargaining power will be gone. Good God. What were you programming?
Self-destruction code.
What are you doing?
It's okay.
Mantis, stop!
They eat batteries, not people. Maybe they're just scared of what we are gonna do to them. not gonna hurt you. Everything is gonna be okay.
Use your heart, boy. Yeah. She's a good dog.
I knew you believe I'm a good dog.
Right. Get over here.
So super dynamic clip. This has so much to offer. Let's look at just one quick snapshot. We're going to see a little bit of what's going on with those giant space creatures. You can see here some subtle bass. Of course, we are hitting down in, once again, in the 40 hertz, 30 hertz range. Then you have these little subtle ticks, these little transients that really play into building the scene up to this, which is just some monstrous bass. Here, you know, we really are beginning to see diving a little bit down into the 20 hertz range, which is a little bit of a rarity to see it that hot down in this zone for this particular film. But just a wonderful, wonderful bass moment in this movie. It's going to play well on good systems. And then, of course, we have that hard hitting bass that occurs at the end with the dog slamming those pieces of concrete into its enemy. Let's look at the FFT analyzer to get a closer look at what is happening. And boom, there it is. Just a great moment of bass. Let's slow that down just a bit. Let's do a 0.5 speed so we can get a really close look at that. You can see right there, you have very, very potent bass going down to 30 hertz into the 20 hertz range. Sounds excellent. I mean, there is a good reason why this is actually a reference scene. I would suggest dialing this up if you want to give your system a little bit of a chance to shine. Really good stuff. I mean, all the bass that they've added into this particular moment in the movie just makes the impact of the chaos and the importance of some of these moments all the more fantastical. Just excellent, excellent stuff. Okay, so now we get to the top bass scene of this film. This is my personal favorite scene for multiple reasons. Let's check it out, and then we'll talk about it.
Why are we doing this? We're looking inside. We have to get them out.
Good. Whoever's in the cockpit, activate the brake.
The steering mechanism is stuck.
Now pull harder.
Okay, so the scene is brief, but this is such a fantastic bass moment. Let's just look at this quick snapshot right here of the spectrogram. And of course, right here, just heavy hitting, hard hitting. You can see there's a lot of activity right down to that 20 hertz cutoff. That is where the ship is slamming into the planet. And then it slowly begins to build as it gets closer and closer to the two characters. Wow. I mean, it's, talk about a reference moment. It's details like these that are executed to perfection that really add to the movie and the vibrancy of a moment. And this is one of them. It just sounds amazing. Here's another look at that moment with the FFT analyzer. And you can see we have a ton of energy right there in the 40 hertz range. And as that moment of the ship approaching gets bigger and bigger, that impact is hitting really super hard. And then as it starts to slow down, we start to get a little die off in the bass and a little roll down into the 30 hertz range, really to kind of finalize the climactic ending of that particular scene. Much like our last scene, that is pure reference material. It's going to play really well as a demo moment in your home theater room. So definitely check it out. So what kind of system will this movie play best on? Well, if you have a great subwoofer array in your home theater room and it's all dialed in, you're going to be treated to some extraordinary nuanced bass. Even some of the less punchy moments that have more of those transients really pop nice and crisply. Just excellent stuff. Now, if you have a large room with an underpowered sub in it, I don't think your sub is going to be pushed all that hard because a lot of these frequencies are more up in the spectrum. You're not really going to be asked to push things super down low. I would be a little careful with your subs, but overall, I think they're going to be safe and this is going to sound pretty good. And even folks out there who have a sound bar and maybe a smaller wireless sub, you're still going to get a lot of the feeling that the creators intended you to experience with this particular movie. So I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to sound good pretty much across the board. Okay, folks, that's all I have for you today. If you'd like to track me down, you can find me on Twitter. My handle there is @AVWoofer. And you can always find me over on the home theater forum at avnirvana.com. My username there is my name. That is Todd Anderson. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. We'll see you soon.